In the spotlight this morning, a new trial out of the state of Georgia. Opening statements expected today in the killer's daughter murder trial for defendant Christopher Wolfenbarger. He's standing trial for the 25-year-old cold case murder of his wife, who was the daughter of a convicted serial killer. Melissa Wolfenbarger went missing back in 1998. At the time, her husband, Christopher, claimed that she left on her own accord and said he never reported her missing because he assumed she'd moved on with her life. He was always a person of interest, but not arrested until August of last year. Here's Court TV's Cody Thomas.
It's been a long wait, 25 years. But finally, hopefully, we would get justice for Melissa.
A Georgia man is now standing trial for the cold case murder of his wife, Melissa Wolfenbarger.
I've gathered the facts, and I collaborated with the DA's office and was able to get the facts together to come up with the probable cause to arrest Christopher Wolfenbarger.
We have finally made it. He's in custody. And now we just need to get over the last hurdle and get him convicted.
Christopher claimed back in 1998 that Melissa left on her own accord and never returned, but was arrested in August 2024, 25 years after Melissa's remains and severed head were found in trash bags.
I'm pretty sure it's domestic violence. He was captured in his home in Griffin. He hid. It took the detectives a little while to find him, and they found him, I believe, hiding behind a dryer.
Police also suspected Melissa's father, Carl Patton, a serial killer who committed 5 murders across Georgia from 1973 to 1977. News Nation's Ashley Banfield spoke with Melissa's mother about his reaction to the arrest of Christopher.
He was devastated when he found out she had been murdered, but he was deliriously happy as soon as he found out Chris had been arrested.
Christopher, who has pleaded not guilty, now faces life in prison for the murder of his wife, but her family says they knew since day one that he was responsible.
From day one, we knew it was Christopher. There was never, ever any doubt in our minds who did this.
All right, here to discuss, criminologist, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, Dr. Debbie Goodman is with us, and criminal defense attorney Michael J. Brown back. All right, Dr. Debbie, the victim's father, Carl Patton Jr., is a serial, known as the Flint River Killer. Killed 5 people in the 70s. Is it just a coincidence? Do you think it plays into anything here? I mean, it sounds like they're totally separate incidents. This guy's, if he is indeed guilty, Wolfenbarger, he's the husband that killed a wife. You know, you see that all the time. What's your take on that connection, the serial killer element of this odd case?
Certainly. Good morning, Ted and Michael. And odd it is, odd, bizarre. You know, we're used to talking about these cases that are so shocking and surprising and unsettling. But my goodness, Ted, this unsavory cast of characters, what a motley crew we have here, starting with Christopher. You know, just basic victimology is investigators are always looking at with whom does the victim most interact. So certainly the spouse, the parents, the children, and the fact that they had disharmony and discord in their marriage to where she did get a protective order. That would be a real red flag as to this individual's involvement. Now, as you submit this serial killer father, Carl Patton, you see, interestingly, we wouldn't necessarily look toward him, believe it or not. Why, Ted? Because if we look at patterns of serial killers, many of whom, by the way, are married, to include names we know, John Wayne Gacy, Gary Ridgway, Dennis Rader, they tend to be married for long times, never harming their own wives nor children. So it's just a bizarre circumstance. And let us not forget Miss Norma, by the way, who was no saint in this either. She too participated, yet she did offer testimony in exchange for her immunity. But what a bizarre case we have. I hope we will have justice for Melissa as well as her 2 children who did grow up without their mother.
Yeah, Michael, you have some experience in this sort of scenario. How does the fact of the serial killer dad factor in? Do you think in the initial search for Melissa do you think that maybe there was a maybe she didn't get the attention that she should have, because boy, it seems as though they 25 years ago had a real solid lead in the husband and didn't follow through, or just never got to a conviction.
Yeah, Ted, I don't think the fact that her father was a convicted murderer has any bearing on whether or not there's going to be a zealous investigation and prosecution. I think they're two independent things, and clearly Melissa had absolutely nothing to do with her father's acts and the mom's acts. So I don't think that had any bearing on it. I think what happened in this case, and I looked at some of the things that they were looking at, the body was dismembered, so that leads to a non-random type of situation. It wasn't like a random burglary or rape, generally speaking. They were married, and he never reported it, which is very odd. Then you find out she sought an order of protection. So clearly there was something going on in the household. And I think the icing on the cake for the prosecution and the investigation was, hey, the body parts were found directly across from where the defendant actually worked. Now, they probably knew it was him, but the issue then becomes, do we have enough to pursue an arrest? And those are two different things. I'm interested in looking and seeing what the actual evidence is. But I think once they got those four components, they were focusing on the husband, but they needed more to make the actual arrest and the prosecution.
Yeah, and sometimes do eyes, too, can make a difference in a case like this. Then they went after him, got him. Interesting, he was hiding behind a dryer, so he knew that they were obviously coming 25 years later. Here's Norma Patton, married to the serial killer, talking about how they didn't report her missing. And she's talking to our friend Ashley Banfield on News Nation. Take a listen.
What was it that kept you from going to the police about Melissa's, situation? Was it because Carl had his own issues and was headed to prison?
No, that had absolutely nothing to do with it. It boiled down to the police not willing to take a missing persons report because she was over 18. Of course, she was 21. She was married. So, it wasn't my responsibility, really, to report her as missing.
I don't know about that, Dr. Debbie Goodman. That seems off the wall. What's your take?
Exactly what you just said, Ted. Again, off the wall, bizarre. Who says that your child is missing? It doesn't matter how old they are. Of course, law enforcement representatives will react and respond to that with deep concern and want to investigate. So I do not believe Miss Norma. I think that she knew exactly what her husband was doing. She also participated and therefore did not want to bring the attention nor the spotlight on the Patton family, because then potentially more evidence would be revealed.
Michael, we're expecting opening statements here in an hour or so. Is the defense, do you believe the defense is going to bring up to this jury, hey, our guy didn't do it, and by the way, her dad, serial killer, maybe he did it. Will they use this to their advantage, do you believe?
I think so, Ted. I think they're going to use any alternate suspect theory that they can. I think they're going to go with that potentially. I was under the impression that they've excluded him as a potential suspect. I don't know the significance or the strength of that exclusion. But yeah, I think it's going to be something they're going to pursue in the sense of he possibly could be a suspect and name other potential suspects as well.